On the agenda, I want to take this opportunity to remind members that the public expectations for members' conduct are high, and they rightly expect from us appropriate standards of behavior in our meetings. As its meeting in April 22, the authority adopted its revised Code of Member Conduct. Our Code of Conduct now incorporates the National Fire Chiefs Council's core code of ethics to mirror standards of behavior expected of the Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service employees. Not only are these employees with us here this evening, but any employees from throughout the service who may subsequently watch this recording once uploaded to the Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service YouTube channel. We should use the meetings such as these, as we would at all times, to demonstrate the values of integrity, treating people with dignity and respect, being positive role models, and promoting equality, diversity, and inclusion. It is important that all members treat each other and officers with respect during any debate and in asking questions, and maintain high standards of behavior and conduct at the meeting. Please be civil and courteous. Do not make it personal. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the election of chair for 2023-2024. I will now ask Graham Britton to ask for nominations for the position of chair of the authority.
Thank you, Vice Chair. May I have nominations, please, for the Chair of the Authority for the year 23-24?
I'd like to nominate Jeff Brooks to be chair.
Councillor Brooks, thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second, Councillor Keane.
Are there any other nominations for the position? There being no other nominations, Councillor Brooks is duly elected as the Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Put the chairman first, do I, before I can speak? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Register, Graham. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think I need to make my declaration, yeah? That on? That one's not working.
That one is.
Okay, I, Councillor Geoffrey Charles George Brooks, having been elected to the office of Chair of Royal Berkshire Fire Authority, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. And I'd like to thank you for having the faith in me and confidence. It is an honour and a privilege to chair this authority. This is my second go at it. I waited 20 years, but I'm the first one on the board up there from 1997 to 2003, when it became a combined fire authority after Berkshire County Council disappeared. Councillor Werner and I are the sole surviving members, still in office in some form, from the councillors of Berkshire County Council. Joe Lovelock as well, perhaps? Yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon. So it is an honour, and I'm sure that the new members, of which there are 8 out of 20 of us, will get great enjoyment out of this service. You will find huge dedication from officers, staff, everybody in this service. You will find huge pride. You'll find great respect to us and across the organisation. Clearly, we need to make sure we maintain that and improve on it. But it's a very well-run service. And of course, for members of the public, they have such affection for a service they don't want to use. But if they ever have to use it or hear of somebody who has used it, they have such pride and appreciation of the service that they have to take in extreme circumstances. And thank you to you, Chief, for what you've been doing in running this service since you've been here. I won't go too much into detail, but you're my 6th Chief Fire Officer since 1994. They're getting younger, or I'm getting older. And without further ado, or holding matters up, why don't we move business forward?
Thank you, Chair. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of Vice Chair for the year 23-24. May I have nominations for the position of Vice Chair, please?
I'd like to propose Councillor Paul Gittings for the Vice Chair.
I'll second.
Thank you, and that's seconded. Are there any other nominations for the position of Vice Chair? There being no other nominations, Councillor Paul Gittings is duly appointed Vice Chair.
Councillor Brooks, would you allow me just to...
Please.
I've sort of moved a bit, I've moved a bit to the left. That's just... Look, I mean, Jeff summed up actually some of the words I was going to use in my year as chair, but certainly in my political career, it was the biggest honour and privilege since I was first elected in 2002 to chair this authority and to work with fantastic people from the Fire Authority, but also fantastic staff. And to say the least, it's been a challenging year, the past year. We started with the summer heat wave. And then we then had the end of the inspection for which the service came through with flying, rightly so, with flying colours good under all pillars. And then we had the threat of industrial action, which thankfully was averted, and some other situations that arose during the year. But thankfully we were able to get through it. The service performed fantastically. I mean, I was informed of a number of incidents where the heroism and speed of which our firefighters got to those incidents undoubtedly saved lives. One of those was highlighted at the last meeting that I chaired, that showed the service in the best light. So you're proud to be the chair of such an organisation. And as I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to hopefully work closely with Jeff and other colleagues over the next year, and let's hope we can come through with flying colours and show the public they know that what a great service this is, as we demonstrate every day through the efforts of the staff. And we're here as politicians to give them the resources and the backing and the budgets to make that happen. And I know that we will try our best to do that.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Okay, so we can get into business. Katie Hopkins on the right has predicted 8 o'clock to finish, so shall we help her achieve that objective? Katie Mills, I beg your pardon. So do we have any apologies for us? So my chairs.
Councillor Gittings, read his declaration.
Councillor Gittings got to read his declaration. Yeah. Okay.
I, Councillor Paul Gittings, having been elected to the office of Vice Chair of Royal Berkshire Fire Authority, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Thank you, Faith, for the reminder.
Faith won't let us go wrong here. It might not be as seamless as usual, but we'll get there. Apologies for absence, please.
Chair, I've received apologies from Councillor Tina Mackenzie-Boyle and Councillor Dave McAvoy.
Thank you very much. And declarations of interest, please, members. Are there any? None declared. Thank you. The minutes of the meeting held on 27th of April 2023 on page 720. Do I have a proposer to accept those minutes? Councillor Paul Gittings, and seconded by Councillor Tricia Brown. Thank you very much. All those in favour to accept those minutes, please. Accepted. Thank you very much. Item 6, petitions and questions on public understanding orders 1925. Not received any, thank you very much. And announcements from Chair. Okay. Firstly, I'd like to welcome new members, as I did earlier. I'm going to name them now. A warm welcome to Councillors Billy Drummond. If you'd like to just put your hand up or something so they know Billy. He's been down here from Scotland doing missionary work for quite some time.
53 years, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Peter Frewer, sir. Good evening. Councillor Owen Jeffrey, a returner. Thank you, Councillor Owen Jeffrey. And Ishrat Shah, back. Good to see you. Thank you.
Already been in the Fire Authority.
Yeah.
the time I became mayor in 2017, I actually retired from here to just do the duty of mayor. So nice to see everyone.
Delighted to have you back. Thank you. But we've also got Wendy Griffith, Robert Stedman. Good evening, sir. Joshua Reynolds and Helen Taylor. Hello. We will present you with the Members' Handbook and Fire Authority crest.
I left it on their desks.
You've got it. Wear it with pride. I don't mean the handbook. I mean the crest. We say goodbye and send our best wishes to some people who've worked very, very hard for a long time on this authority. So Jo Lovelock, Paul, please send her our regards.
I wasn't, yeah.
Dexter Smith, B. Aloco, Colin Dudley, who many of you saw earlier, Tony Linden, you saw earlier, Christine Bateson, been on here as long as I have, and I had a break, David Cannon and Sandra Malik left the authority. I'm sure you'll all join me in wishing them all the best for their future endeavours, whether that be as councillors or anything else. Now, for new members, it's exciting. There are 8 of you out of 20, so you've got real influence with that amount of people. And I hope you're aware that there's an induction session on Monday next, the 12th, 5:30 here. I hope that's all in your diary. Good fun, actually, learning about the service. They like to show us all their big, heavy equipment as well and what it does. Not sure you're doing that Monday evening, but you'll be invited, I guess, to Woodley and shown all sorts of things. It'll be a great opportunity to meet our Chief Wayne Bocock, Connor Byrne, Head of Finance, and Faith Rowe, who makes sure that the wheels spin properly and we stay on track. And without the face of this world, these meetings just would be a disaster. You know more about the service, the various member development courses that will be on offer during the year, and Outlook invitations have been sent, should be in your calendars. Now, I'm going to take the opportunity to talk about email addresses, because the service would now like you to set up for you, with you, email addresses for RBFRS, Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service. So that will be implemented across your devices. We're not passing out devices as we did during the COVID months. And it follows the government's National Cyber Security Centre recommendations that organisations take immediate steps to enhance their cyber security to manage risks. So you'll be provided on training how to access these accounts from devices and guidance on when these need to be used for sending sensitive information. Training sessions will be arranged and held in coming weeks. So we'll get that in quite soon.
Yeah.
But until they're fully in, you'll send to the normal addresses, will you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. We've also got, over the course of the following weeks and months, a series of opportunities to support the new members in getting to know your responsibilities. The team will be made available. We're mindful you have numerous commitments and will likely want to take some time to get to know the authority and the service. But you will be aware of the fantastic work and ambitions of the service and the authority. It's important we enable this to continue for the benefit of residents with as little disruption as possible, and I'm sure we'll achieve that. I'd also ask you to be as flexible and accommodating as possible over what will be a busy period in order to support the continued smooth delivery of the authority's responsibilities, and I'm sure you will. And we will be sensitive, as I say, to the demands on your time, because several of you have actually taken control at your authorities and have a big workload to get up to speed. I know I have. But there are other events that, that will come up that you'll be invited to. Looking back, on the 12th of May, the service welcomed 23 new whole-time firefighter apprentices in a graduation ceremony at Newbury Fire Station. A number of you probably went to that. Rochelle, I know you did. Paul, yeah. And I certainly will be going to events like that in time to come. They celebrated months of training, hard work with family and friends. As part of the apprenticeship, the recruits were asked to organise an event to raise money for the firefighters' charity, and this year did not disappoint, as nearly £15,000 was raised, by the apprentices who cycled 500 miles. I think they came back. I think it was 250 one way and 250 back. Otherwise, they're still out there somewhere. But it's the equivalent distance of Windsor to Balmoral on static bikes. This was at locations in Reading and Bracknell. So I don't know if they had a TV screen with the scenery going around to make it interesting. Following the graduation ceremony, the apprentices took up their station placements across the county, and it is anticipated the apprenticeships will be completed within 24 months. Will we have another coming out ceremony then? Well, we'll see. Possibly.
Yes, at the awards ceremony, okay.
Excellent. On Thursday, 4th of May, staff from across the service gathered to commemorate Firefighters Memorial Day. It's an annual commemoration of the dedication, commitment and sacrifices of firefighters across the United Kingdom. At midday, in accordance with the wishes of Firefighters Memorial Trust, our on-duty teams held a parade on their station forecourt, and staff at Newsham Court here gathered at the front of the building to pay their respects during a minute's silence. The event was an opportunity to honour those who are serving, who have served, or who have made the ultimate sacrifice to protect their communities in the fire and rescue service. It's a worthy cause. So that's the chairman's announcements as I've been given them. One other thing I'd like to announce, and it's a procedural matter. In the past, and for new members this will not mean very much, but for returning members, the chair, I must get used to calling myself a chair, would take questions in an item and then go to the debate. I felt that was a little bit stilted, and I would prefer, by all means, ask questions, we'll get the answers, but if you want to move into statements and your view of the debate and the item, please don't feel impeded to do so. I think it should flow more fully in that way. I wasn't used to that with my authority. I think it was a Bracknell procedure that Colin brought in. It sort of worked, but I think we can do better. So when you if you want, put your hand up. Could be a question, could be a statement, could be both. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Moving on then to issues arising, item number 8. Issues arising from the Audit and Governance Committee, and there are no reports, so I'm going to simply note that. And then number 9, are there any questions from members understanding Order 30? For new members, you can ask questions within the meeting, but you can put a written question in to the chairman on something that may not be on the agenda. Similarly, you could put a motion down, which we would debate understanding Order 44. So I draw your attention to that. So number 9, there are no questions. Number 10, no motions. Okay. I then have item 11, recommendation of committees. Item 16 has been recommended, and we will take that later in the agenda. And we now get to item 12, which I'm going to need your help with, Mr. Britton and Faith, in terms of the committee places, lead members and member chairmans and outside bodies. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. I propose that you take the report as read, which is in essence the annual report on proportionality, and with your permission, Chairman, I'll take members straight to the recommendations. There are 5 substantive recommendations set out for you on page 21 to 32 of your agenda pack. The first recommendation is 2.1. Where it falls upon the authority, having regard to the proportionality rules, to make appointments to the authority in accordance with the group leaders' wishes. Thanks goes out to all the group leaders who have pre-populated a template that has been circulated by Faith and is in front of you. I'm getting some nods around there, and everyone's seen a copy of those proposed appointments. So in terms of members that are grouped, they are set out for you in terms of the Audit and Governance Committee. That's members 1 to 8 in table 5, and in terms of the group members on the
9 there, Graham. Sorry.
Sorry, just in terms of the groups.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah. And then in terms of the group members, they're set out management committee for management committee 1 to 10. And that's the proposal, Chairman. The authority has no discretion. It has to appoint in accordance with the group leaders.
Indeed. And of course there is also
wishes.
the the one Green member and the one independent member, but they're not a group. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the proposal, Chairman. Someone to move that? And
So I'll propose that. So need a seconder, please. Thank you, Billy Drummond. And
that's
all those in favour? Thank you
That's
very much
carried.
indeed. I will normally ask for a vote.
And at 2.2, Chairman, that's the ungrouped members, and my thanks to the two ungrouped members of the Green representative and the independent representative, and that's reflected there, Chairman, at 2.2.
And I propose that.
Yep, so that gives the Green representative will be sitting on the 9th seat of the Audit and Governance Committee, and the independent representative will sit on the 11th seat of the Management Committee. That's the proposal,
I'm
Chairman.
happy to propose that. Seconder, and all those in favour, please. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. We now move on to the nominations that are set out for you on that table that I described has been surveyed in advance. A point of clarity, obviously the chair and the vice chair has already been appointed. The next two items there, the Chair of Audit and Governance and the Management Committee, they're actually to be confirmed because they won't be substantiated until the inaugural meetings of the Audit and Governance Committee and the Management Committee respectively. Opposition leaders, obviously that's been dealt with within the groups. Now we come on to the lead members, which is the meat of the matter really. We have the nominations there for the following lead members. Budget and Income Generation Lead, which is council. Only one proposal there, Mike Smith. Collaboration Lead, one proposal there, Simon Werner. Community Risk Management Plan Lead, one nomination there, and that's Paul Gittings. One nomination for Strategic Assets and Sustainability Lead, and that's Councillor Rachel Shepherd-Dubay. And is there any other nominations?
We can take those on block.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take those on block.
So, all those in need to propose a second.
Yes, please.
Yes, I'm happy to propose. I'll second. Paul seconds, and then we'll take those in block. That's Budget and Income Generation Lead, Collaboration Lead, CRMP Lead, Community Risk Management Plan, and Strategic Assets. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chair. Now we move on to Community Safety Champions. The Community Safety Champion. One nomination for the Community Safety Champion being Wendy Griffith.
So proposed, seconded. All those in favour of Wendy? Thank you very much. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Chair. The next we have the post of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Champion, and we have two nominations for that. We have Councillor Morag Malvern and also a nomination of Councillor Robert Steadman. That will need to go to the vote, Chair.
So we have the nomination, but do we now need, we've got the nomination, so we literally can go straight to the vote.
If we could just have a formal proposer and seconder
proposal?
for both of those nominations.
Councillor Okay, I'll second. Mike Smith second. That's Morag Malvern. Councillor Pauline Helen-Simons, you're proposing Councillor Steadman, and Councillor Benedict is seconding. So we have two candidates.
Thank you,
Okay?
Chair.
Yeah.
Can we have a show of hands in favour of Councillor Morag Malvern, please? Thank you. And in favour of Councillor Steadman? Chair, Councillor Morag Malvern is appointed to that post. Overleaf members, you will see the position of Safety, Health, Fitness and Wellbeing Champion, and also the combined, which is combined with the Member Development Champion. Joe, you'll notice, the members will notice that there are two nominations for that post. First, we have a proposal of Councillor Owen Jeffrey, and then we also have a proposal of Councillor Paula Hellier-Simons. If they could be just formally proposed and seconded.
So proposal for Councillor Owen Jeffrey, thank you. Seconder, Rochelle, thank you. And a proposal for Pauline Hellier-Simons is Councillor Bennyworth, and Councillor Shah is seconder. Back to you.
Thank you, Chair. Can I have a show of hands, please, for those in favour of Owen Jeffrey being appointed? Thank you. And can I have a show of hands in favour of Councillor Pauline Hellier-Simons? Thank you. Councillor Owen Jeffrey is appointed into that post, Chair. Next we have the positions, they're set out on table 7, that for appointments onto the Thames Valley Fire Control Service Joint Committee. The working of that committee, I'm sure will be covered in the actual member induction. The nominations, there are only 2 nominations, Chair, for the 2 posts. One's Councillor Simon Werner and the other position is Councillor Frewer. If they could just be
You
formally.
need a proposal?
Yes, please.
Proposal for those 2 posts, I would think. Do you want
Yes,
to take
please.
that?
Yes,
2?
please.
Yeah. So the proposal of Paul Giddings, I'll second. Okay, and all those in favour of those 2 nominees, please.
Thank you. That's
Thank you very
duly
much.
appointed.
We do have substitutes, I can name them now.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for anticipating that. There are also 2 vacant substitute positions. If we can have a seconded nomination.
Yeah, we've got one which is Councillor Debay.
And Councillor Tricia Brown.
Thank you. Got that? Okay, so again, I'm going to look for a proposal. I beg your pardon.
Chairman, I'd like to propose Councillor Hellier-Simons.
Councillor Hellier-Simons, okay. So we've got to now have a vote on that, okay?
I'll just get those formally proposed and seconded. Thank you.
So I'm looking for I will propose Councillor Rochelle Shepherd-Debay, seconder for Rochelle, please. Okay. Looking for somebody to propose Councillor Tricia Brown, Paul Giddings, seconded by Councillor. Thank you, Dar. Thank you. And then a proposal of Councillor Hellier-Simons, Councillor Bennyworth, and a seconder, Councillor Stedman. Okay. I think we're going to do.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd
Back to you,
have a show of hands for, if we take it, Councillor Rachel Shepherd-Debay. Can we have a show of hands in favour of Councillor Shepherd? Can I have a show of hands for Pauline Hellier-Simons, please? And can I have a show of hands for the other nomination, Councillor Brown? Thank you. Thank you. For the two of the 3 positions, Chairman, that's Councillor Shepherd-Debay and Councillor Brown. Thank you.
Okay. This one has changed slightly. Yeah? Yeah, this is straight.
Thank you. Chairman, now we move to the working groups. We have the following nominations. Councillor Reynolds, Councillor Jeffrey, Councillor Hellier-Simons, Councillor Stedman and Councillor Paul Gittings. Could I have a full proposal?
Yes, that's a slight change from what they may have on their paperwork. Yeah.
Yes, that is a slight change from what you have.
Councillor Owen Jeffrey is on that one, and Councillor Drummond will be on the other one shortly. So I'm proposing those members being on that working group, member development working group. Any seconder? Thank you, Councillor Debay, Shepherd-Debay. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chair. They're appointed. And again, another change to what's in front of you. So we've got those 4 members on this working group, which is the Estates Development and Sustainability Working Group. They are as follows: Councillor Billy Drummond, Councillor Rachel Shepherd-Debay, Councillor Pauline Hellier-Simons, and Councillor Hakeek Dar, Chair.
Thank you. I'm happy to propose that. Have we got a seconder? Tricia Brown, thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you very much.
Chair, they're appointed. Next, we move on to the outside bodies, and again, they're set out on that table for you. Members will note there are some positions available on the Local Government Association in terms of a representative, and then but there are 2 nominations, I believe, Faith.
Can we just be clear, yes, what, who the nominations are and who the substitutes are?
Yeah.
Can you just make that clear?
Yes, certainly. Chair, I was going to take the substantive representatives first. But there are two nominations for the substantive post. There being Councillor Jeff Brooks, and we've also got a nominee, which is Councillor Pauline Simons.
Okay, if perhaps we take a proposal for myself as the LGA representative. Proposed, seconded. Thank you, Councillor Shepherd Bay. And then a proposer for Councillor Pauline Simons. Councillor Bennyworth, seconder. Councillor Stedman. Okay, back
Thank
to you.
you, Chair. So can we have a show of hands, please, for that first substantive position, which is Councillor Jeff Brooks. And a proposer for, a show of hands for Helia Simons. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Brooks is appointed onto the substantive seat there. And then, as you anticipated, Chairman, we've got the substitute position on that for that role. We've got two nominations again. First, we've got Councillor Paul Gittings, and we've also got Councillor Pauline Simons. So,
I'll give a proposer, Councillor Dar for Councillor Gittings, and a seconder, Councillor Tricia Brown. So that's nominated. Councillor Bennyworth, Councillor Simons, and Councillor Stedman again. So you have your nominations.
thank you, Chair. Can I have a show of hands, please, for Councillor Gittings? And a show of hands, please, for Councillor Pauline Simons. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Gittings is appointed onto that substitute position. And I think we now move on to the final post, which is the Honorary Armed Forces Champion. We've currently just got the one nomination, which is Councillor Rachel Shepherd Bay. So if that can just be formally proposed and seconded.
I'm happy to propose Councillor Rochelle Shepherd Bay for that, seconded by Councillor Mulwan. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed.
And that's the Councillor Shepherd Bay formally appointed. That deals with recommendations 2.1 to 2.4. Then overleaf in your agenda packs at page 22. Chairman, that's just for noting, which is the role descriptions of those members. The members.
Happy to know those role descriptions. I know you've read them and memorised them completely by now. Show of hands to note them. Thank you. Just for formality's sake, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm happy with that report. Are there any other comments, members, on that report before I move on? Given Katie's timetable. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next item then is a bit more meaty now, isn't it? A little bit more business-like. We get into the annual plan. Who's introducing this, Chief?
Very much,
Paul Brand. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This evening we bring to the Fire Authority the draft Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service annual plan for 23-24 for approval by the Fire Authority for publication. This is the first annual plan since the corporate plan and the community risk management plan for 23 through to 27 was agreed by the Fire Authority in April. The corporate plan and the community risk management plan is the Fire Authority's 4-year plan that sets out the aims and objectives for Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service. The annual plan is aligned to the Fire Authority's new strategic commitments. Ordinarily, the draft would have gone through the Audit and Governance Committee first. However, due to the development of the new corporate plan this year, this has delayed completion of this year's plan, and to expedite that, approval and publication is now presented directly to the Fire Authority. The plan itself outlines the annual objectives for the service and the activities that will support these objectives, our corporate measures, our priority programmes, risk management and assurance of the service. The objectives include the 6 strategic commitments that are within the corporate plan, as well as 3 commitments which relate to how we deliver our service. And these new commitments cover culture, capability and collaboration. Under each objective, the plan puts forward areas of work that will be carried out over the course of the year to ensure that we deliver against these objectives. These have been informed from a variety of sources, such as the corporate plan, national guidance and legislation, national events such as the Manchester Arena Inquiry, national reports from the sector such as the Cultural Review by His Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Service. Moving on. Our corporate measures within the plan are aligned to our 4-year corporate plan and CRMP in order that we can track progress across the life of the plan and adjust our plans accordingly. The measures cover our service provision to the public as well as the corporate areas of the service, which include finance, human resources, health and safety and freedom of information. We've amended some of our corporate measures this year to taking an evidence and data-led approach to better reflect our understanding of risk. These changes are based on our historical data of the past 5 years where possible. These targets are minimum service levels. As a service, we look to achieve higher results wherever possible. And hopefully members got the supplementary paper that was shared via email this week that will assist members in understanding the rationale behind the changes throughout the paper. Our priority programmes within the plan sets out our key deliverables this year against the 6 priorities within our community risk management plan. These deliverables have been determined taking into account other areas of work in the service for this year, as well as those risks that we feel are a priority for this year. This year, Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service will establish a development programme for the service. This programme of work is being developed to incorporate our people strategy and the recent cultural reviews within the sector. This will cover all areas of the service and will be designed to strengthen our one-team approach. The risk and insurance section sets out how we manage corporate risk through our risk management processes to ensure that as a service we manage organisational risk appropriately. The section also sets out various internal audits on the service. This year will provide assurance for the fire authority and the public that the service is being managed correctly, as well as outlining our compliance against the Fire and Rescue Service national framework in terms of statement of assurance. And finally, we gain independent assurance through His Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Service through their inspection programme. And as you've previously heard through this evening, this programme has been in place since 2019 and has carried out 2 full inspections of the service, judging the service as good in all 3 areas of the inspection with both inspections. At this current time, we're expecting the next inspection in 2024. Progress against the plan will be reported on a quarterly basis at the Audit and Governance Committee. I now open this up for questions, Chair.
I'll start. I'll start, if I may, before I open it up to the members. The supplementary paper I asked you to put round, thank you for doing that. I wonder if you talk a little bit more of the targets on page 63. You've given the trend analysis, thank you for that. And I just would like a little bit more introduction on the targets, corporate measures as you call them, on page 63, please. Not all of them, but the ones with significant changes. So number 2, 3, 4, certainly number 7. Just allude to them for me, please, for the members' benefit.
Certainly. So if I take number 2 there, which is the non-fatal fatal fire casualties, and as you see previously we had a maximum of 70 was our target within this area. And this was initial set last year, and this was in essence we recorded in error which included our non-hospital casualties when we considered our historical data when we originally looked at this. We've intended to now to revise this target, as we said there, to the 34 maximum over the 4 year, looking at the trends of when we've looked through the casualties, what the trends look like and what actually reflects a better reflection of those fire casualties across that non-fatal fire casualties.
Okay. And then the deliberate primary fires, secondaries, again with the data of the supplementary paper, please.
Again, we opened this up last year, previously as reducing that, which didn't necessarily put a target on it. But again, looking back across our data over the last 5 years, this is we're looking to reduce this target by 5% over these periods. Hence why we've now put in the target of 135 as our maximum. And again, we will look to reduce that where possible through our activities to bring this figure down as best we can.
And similarly, number 4 then, yeah, same rationale.
And again, yeah, same rationale. Again, over the last 5 years, looking at the data, it comes to this figure and looking to reduce this again by 5% and further if possible across the year as best we can.
And 2 more, if you wouldn't mind,
Yes,
Paul.
certainly.
Number 7 and 8, where wild swing down from 90 to 35%, 90 to 50%.
Certainly. So number 7 and 8, Chair, were targets that we introduced last year. They were, as you could imagine, very ambitious targets we set ourselves over that period, not fully understanding in essence how this was going to play out. Once we've looked back across the year that we've had over 22-23, we've looked at this and set ourselves a more realistic target that is still stretching across the year to achieve these interventions and to make people safe across the county. I hope that covers the areas you wish, Chair.
I'm grateful for that. Katie Mills, yeah.
Just really to elaborate on that, you'll see that the targets change depending on the nature of the risk associated with those safe wells. That's reflective of the complexity of the cases. So the higher the risk, by nature they tend to be more complex, which is why there can be a delayed period in entering properties and reaching those individuals. So I just really wanted to reassure members that we do remain fully committed to the timescale set out in the policy and achieving those. It's simply due to the complexity of the cases that may create more of a delay, hence the revised targets.
So I open it up for questions, statements, support, opposition from anybody who would like to. Councillor Josh Reynolds.
Thank you, Chair. Looking specifically on number 4, so the number of deliberate secondary fires, the amendments that were sent round earlier shows that only on 1 year does that 5-year average actually work for us. So 2021-22 is 199, which takes you to the 5-year average of 257. Looking across those numbers, that seems to be what you would probably call a fairly significant outlier in comparison to that data. If that number was removed and you take a 4-year average, that 5-year average comes back to 270, which significantly changes that 5% reduction number. Just what the thoughts were on 21-22 and why it was included in the data.
Well, yeah, sure. So where possible, as we say, we've taken the 5-year data across this to give us that average rather than removing one altogether. I think the lower average there is over the COVID period, or just coming out of the COVID period, which would have affected those figures which we've noticed across our data over that period in various areas as well. So we decided to leave it in for this period so that we get that consistency of the 5 years. And we also want to obviously push ourselves as far as we can with our targets to try and achieve it and reduce it. That is what we're determined to do across this period.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pauline Hellers-Simons.
Thank you. I've got 2 things, Chairman. Firstly, on 364, page 52, you amended the target for percentage of working time lost to sickness absence from 4% to 5%. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I know that we have had COVID, but I think that's more or less over now. There are not that many people who have been infected. And elsewhere in the document it says we're continuing to manage sickness absence and attendance. Well, it seems to me that we're managing it down. So my first question really is, does everybody have a return to work interview to explain why they've been absent? Is it really necessary that we put that target down from 4 to 5%?
I'm going to refer that to Becky Jeffries, as you would expect me to. And then if you've got other questions, the same thing.
Yeah, my second question, it's about water safety. I'm really pleased to see that we're putting the new water base at Slough. That's much more central than Langley. Page 58 talks about the water safety education programme. A few years ago I did an LGA peer review of North York's Fire Authority, where again they have a lot of water, and they had a most incredibly good leaflet warning people of the dangers of going into rivers and giving them all of the reasons why they shouldn't and all of the things that could happen when you go into water, like thinking you're going upwards when you're actually going downwards. And they distributed those in a huge number of different places, all sorts of public places, libraries, GPs, schools. And I wonder whether we've had any thoughts about doing the same, because it is about educating people of the dangers.
Thank you. We got one for Becky Jeffries and one for Jess, I think there. So Becky, first up, please.
Thank you. Yes, in relation to your question about return to work interviews, they are conducted in every case. I think more generally in relation to the sickness measure, what we're seeing is across the societal impact of COVID and the pandemic has seen an increase in delays in waiting times for assessments and also interventions. And whilst we've got other things in place to back that up, such as our Benenden scheme, there is still a legacy impact to that. In addition, there is quite significant trends in society that we're seeing as a result of the pandemic and more generally in relation to mental health and mental health delays. And so all in all, the response to looking at the target and our inability to meet the one that we had set is more reflective of what is going on outside of the service, whilst still taking very seriously the looking at the interventions and the approach that we can take to drive down sickness within the service. But we're examining all our processes, all our interventions, the ability to talk to individuals as quickly as possible on their return through the return to work interviews, and then using all the channels that we have to move forward.
Well, with great respect, Chairman, that sounds as if we've noticed what's happening, so we'll adjust our target to meet it, which seems to me dog wagging the tail. Tail wagging the dog.
Tail wagging the dog, I think you mean.
I'm sure officers note your comments on that. I'm going to move on to your second question, if I may, and refer that to Jess.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor, picking up the point on the water safety materials, we do have an absolute raft of materials, and in the past we have gone down sort of the leaflets in the places we place them on certain bridges and certain hotspot places, in the east of the county, which we're extremely well aware of. But we're actually finding now we get better engagement sort of through social media and also face-to-face engagement. And as you're probably aware, we're committed to the National Accidental Drowning Campaign, the 10-year. We are totally signed up with the accidental drowning and water safe, be water aware, also with the RNLI float to survive, and within our local targeting in those areas. So I think we are very mature within our water safety campaigns, and with the addition of the new resources going into the east of the county, that's where we're finding we're getting our better sort of engagement. So, but and with that, obviously with our water safety engagement into the schools as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think the Vice Chairman's coming.
Well, actually, I was going to back refer to what Jess was saying. I mean, sadly, during my tenure, there were three tragic incidents, and two of them involved young people. So I think the work in schools, and obviously it's an obligation on schools also to provide swimming lessons as well. But I think as much work can be done as possible on that, because the young lives tragically cut short in circumstances that don't bear thinking about really. But I know we're trying to do a lot of work on that, and I think the repositioning of to Slough is a good move. It's a good strategic move. My sort of question, when I have to admit to have a briefing with Paul before this, was around number 15 on page 75, which is about the online availability. Eagle-eyed members may have, if you saw last year's figures, would have seen that the target last year was 60%, and we've reduced it to 50%, which I thought was a slight contradiction, because if we looked at the CRMP and we need to prioritise on call to make sure they're on the run as part of the 14 appliances, it seemed to me that by reducing the target, it seemed a contradiction. However, the target I think last year, and I'm looking at Doug, was what we actually attained was about 40%. So I suppose my question to him would be, explain some of the reasoning behind reducing the target, which I suppose is obvious, but also then to sort of supplementary, how confident are we of reaching that 50%? Because I think that's going to be important in terms of the CRMP we set for the next 4 years, which I was involved with, but also I am currently as well.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks for the question, Vice Chair. More than happy to address those. So, certainly existing members of the authority will know that we have had some historical challenges around the on-call availability target. There are some inherent challenges around the model of on-call that are both we experience in RBFRS but nationally. And I think we do have a forward plan item to talk to members about some of that, the on-call system and some of the work we're trying to do and things that we can look to seek improvement. But the reality as it stands is our historic performance tells us that 50% is a more reasonable target, and it is still a stretching target. And I think there's something about, one, being realistic about that, but also the expectation that places on our staff. So it's for those reasons that's our recommendation to members. What I should point out is that each individual station has its own target, and that's more reflective of its disposition, the crewing and establishment and qualification on that station. But combined, they make an overall average of 50%. The other thing I'd say to members is just to provide you with assurance that whilst there are some challenges around the system, and whilst we are seeking to reduce the target, clearly we're consistently looking to look for any opportunities around improving that on-call availability. So that's the assurance I'll give you. For the second part of your question, I can understand how it could appear that there's a contradiction around the priority 6 within the CRMP. What I would say to that is, firstly, the majority of the time we have at least one on-call appliance available, sometimes more. If we find ourselves in a position where, when we implement that priority 6, we don't have that on-call appliance availability, we'll simply do what we do now, and we will utilise pre-arranged overtime to support that that overall number of 14 through our whole-time duty system. So we do have fallback options, but the intent behind that priority 6 is to make best use of all our resources at the most efficient and effective way, essentially.
Thanks very much for that clarification. It's very useful.
I think also from the Chair, for new members, this is an area we've looked at extensively over the last few months, and I think part of your induction should be to get an understanding of the stresses and the challenges of getting retained on-call firefighters available at different stations, which are just retained stations where there isn't a crew, a standing crew. For those who are new to the Fire Authority, we call in part-time retained firefighters to come in, man the pump, get out and put the fire out. And it's a challenge. And you'll provide more on that, won't you, to new members as the induction goes through, I would think.
Yeah, certainly can, Chair, in terms of the challenges and the things we're doing to try and improve that availability.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any other comments on our annual plan? Councillor Shaw.
Sorry. As I'm from Slough, I just want to know when you're going to implement the water on Slough station.
Okay, back to Jess.
Yeah, I can pick that up, Chair. So it's our intention to have that additional capability in place by mid-July. So recognising that certainly as we move into the summer period, and particularly the summer holidays, it would be beneficial to the community to have that in place. It has been a piece of work that we've had to really kind of push hard over the last couple of months, because it was only, I think, maybe 2 months ago or less that we had to come through authority to release some funding to support that piece of work. But we do already have water rescue capability in the county, of course, but this is just supplementary. So mid-July is certainly our aim.
No other hands up, members. I'm likely to therefore go to the vote. Need a proposer second? Yes. Yeah. I'm happy to propose this item, the plan. Do I have a seconder? Maybe I've got Councillor Werner. Thank you very much. All those in favour, please. I think that's unanimous. Thank you. And so I can move on to item 14, page 81, and this will be Becky Jeffries again, yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The paper before members tonight details the review of the local government pension scheme discretions. Unfortunately, the track change version that should have been in members' handbook didn't show the track changes, so a copy of that has been provided for you tonight for additional reference. A review of the local government pension scheme discretions has been necessary following the Pensions Ombudsman case in November 21, which is referenced in the report. The outcome of that case was that the application of a blanket policy could be potentially unfair, and as such we have considered the previous policy position and revised the discretions to align to this outcome. Sections 3.5 to 3.8 of the report set out the amendments made to the discretions. Please just note there's a small typo that on paragraph 3.5 and the last word should read employee, not employer. The amendments relate to additional pension contributions, the award of additional pension, additional voluntary contributions and inward transfer of pension rights. As well as complying with the Pension Ombudsman ruling, amending the discretions will give us flexibility in exceptional circumstances. Any such cases will be considered on their merits, and in all cases the financial implications and the interests of the authority would be fully considered. Those with financial implications would be brought before the authority. The authority is therefore invited to approve the revised statement of policy about exercise of discretionary functions and agree that the review of those discretions is amended to reflect the revisions are periodic as necessary and not annually. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
And the financial implications we can manage on a case-by-case basis?
Yes.
Just for members' benefit. Do I have any questions or contributions? Then I'm happy to propose. For a seconder. Councillor Shepherd-Debay, thank you very much. All those in favour? All good? Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Meeting Mills, I think I might be 8 o'clock at this rate, unless I get bogged down in a moment. Okay, I'm on item 15, Thames Valley Fire Control Service, Joint Committee Annual Report, page 95. Jim Powell. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, this is a standard report that is brought to the Fire Authority annually on behalf of the two TVFCS lead members. And it also mirrors the TVFCS Joint Committee Chairman's report, which will go to that committee at their AGM next month. So this report is actually part of the lead member suite of reports, but that's the reason it comes to this meeting rather than the April meeting. So hopefully members have had a chance to read it. As you'll see, it essentially provides kind of some of the highlights from last year and then a look forward into next year. I don't intend to go into much more detail than that, Chair, unless anyone would like me to.
I'm not seeing Councillor Vice Chair. Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Sorry, Jim, you're going to hate me now. Under 3.8.11, there's obviously about the budget for the meeting, and it's 2,512, and we spent 2,525. Then it says creating a variance of £12,641. Sorry, it's the way it's written. It looks as though we've had a variance of £12,000. Do you understand what I'm getting at? I know it should be £12.
No, Vice Chair. I think the maths are right. I think it's 2,525,000.
Oh, right. I'm an idiot.
And the variance is 12 grand.
Right. Thank you.
Well, pretty close to what we said there, Vice Chair. I think that's worth an attaboy there.
I was thinking it was the members, but Mark's been on members actually and stuff like that, but it's.
You were thinking it was members' allowances, were you, Vice Chair? Okay. Any further contributions on that one? Then are we noting? Do I need to show of hands to note? Yeah, it's fine. Happy to propose the acceptance of it, that we note this report. I've got a seconder, Councillor Shepherd-Dubey. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed.
And item 16, which is the annual report on governance, in particular
members' allowances and attendance record. Introduced by Paul Bremble.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the report from the Annual Governance Committee outlining the areas that the Audits and Governance Committee has looked at over the course of the previous year, and outlines the members' allowances that were received over the year, as well as the attendance of members at the various committees, all of which were very good attended. One thing to note in the report is that there was an introduction at the suggestion of Councillor Smith on the understanding the Audits and Governance Committee. This was run out last year and will be over the next couple of weeks. We are running this course for members to attend so they can understand what is talked about and the various measures that we go through and the performance that we go through at the Audits and Governance Committee. The committee itself looks through the audit progress reports across the year, looking at the value for money and effective management of the pensions arrangements, as well as various reports from various areas within the service that come along. This year gone, we had no formal complaints against members coming towards the committees or anything, and the chair, written in the report, would like to thank our monitoring officer Graham Bitton for his support over the year, as well as the independent persons over the year. Other than that, this is our standard report on what the Audit and Governance Committee looks at across the year. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Great for that, and members won't be surprised to see this sort of thing. They get it in their own authorities, attendance, allowances. It's a standard public statement. It just shows that the BDI of bureaucracy is watching us. And it is noted in public. We're being asked to note 2.1, 2.2. I'm going to propose we do so. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Brown. All those in favour of noting that and the report, thank you very much. All good? All hands up? Okay. And moving right on to item 17, which is, nearly there, the forward plan, is it not? Yes. Yeah. Okay. We look forward. Members of. Let's see. 17, the forward plan. That is this Technicolor one here, members, showing you upcoming with through Management Committee, Audit Committee, Audit and Governance, and Fire Authority. Are there any comments? Then I'm going to note, I feel I'm going to have to propose that it be noted. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. And so noted, please, show of hands. We note the forward plan. I know it seems a bit like your hands are going up and down here, but Mr. Britton is much more comfortable with this process, and I never like upsetting a monitoring officer. And then we have the minutes of the standing committees, item 18, recommendation of the minutes of recent meetings. They were published on the website. I know you rushed in and looked at them, and you are comfortable that we note these minutes. So I'm going to propose that. I've got a seconder in Councillor Brown for a change from Shepherd-Dubey. All those in favour? Oh, we're moving right along, aren't we? Well done. And then the next meeting of the full authority is the 8th of November 2023. It seems a long way away. There are quite a few meetings in the interim. There's a lot of member induction and familiarisation to be taken care of. I've said to officers already that if there is a need for pressing business before November for the full authority to meet in September, we will do so. We don't anticipate anything at the moment. But I think if it needs to, I wouldn't want to push it out to November where it could be expedited more quickly. So stand by. Don't book anything for September. No. You carry on with your lives. But that's where we are. Am I noting this one?
It's for information.
It's for information. Okay, we got away with it. No hands in the air on this one. Well done. And thank you so much for your support tonight. I think I can finish at 7:35, Katie Mills, but don't get used to it, and members don't get used to it. Our last meeting, we were struggling out of here about 10:30 or something, weren't we? Do you remember? Thank you ever so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.